Hey, welcome to Cord Cutting This Week, number 17. A lot of new things happening at Cord Cutters News this week. A few things. First of all, we're trying this show out in a different setup. See if this is a better fit for this show. We may experiment with a few different stages, I guess we'll call them, to see how our weekly recap shows, where I kind of give you my opinion on the biggest stories of the past week and why I think they're the most impactful going forward on cord cutting. The other thing we're trying here is we got a new microphone we're trying out. We're also just invested, and it's not in yet, but will be in the future, some new lighting that'll be higher, mounted higher in the studio. And I think that's going to really dramatically improve the quality of these videos. We'll see. I'm not sold on this new microphone. We'll play around with it, but I wanted to let you know, Cord Cutters News is always developing. We're always plucking away at what's new and different out there, trying to improve the quality of our site and of our videos. So hang in there with us. I know we've been in the studio for a few weeks and we're learning how to best run it. But as you see, trying something different, we'll see how it works out. But let's dive in here. Hey, these are the stories I personally consider to be some of the most important from the week past. These are the stories I think will have the greatest impact on cord cutting going forward, and things for you to keep an eye on. So let's dive in here, see what we learn. And if you think I missed a story or you have your own take, I'd love to hear from you. Was there a different story that you thought was most impactful in cord cutting, or do you have a different take on the future of cord cutting and how these will impact it? Leave me a comment in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. First up though, right off the bat is, hey, if you're watching this on Friday, today's the last day to test out Sling TV, no credit card needed. Now, they still have their 7-day free trial. With the 7-day free trial though, you have to enter a credit card. Right now, you can go to Sling TV, stream it for 3 hours, enough time to watch a March Madness game. Coincidence? Probably not. And test it out. See if you like it, check out the channel lineup, and play around with it. So check it out. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But if you're watching this on Friday, the day I upload this, you can go watch Sling TV for free, no credit card needed. All right, let's dive into the first story of the week. This is kind of big news. Disney has announced a new direct-to-consumer unit. Basically, Disney has reorganized their company into different units, and one of the biggest ones that's most interesting to me is the new direct-to-consumer unit. You're probably saying, Luke, who cares? They're going direct-to-consumer. They've done that forever with their direct-to-VHS movies, etc. back in the 90s. True, but this is basically Disney's effort to acknowledge that cord cutting is the future. This direct-to-consumer unit will manage things like ESPN Plus, which is their sports streaming service launching this year, the new Disney streaming service that's launching next year, and according to some reports, if Disney's Fox deal goes through and they get full control, or I should say a majority control of Hulu, first time Hulu would have a majority owner, that Disney would roll Hulu into this new structure. Disney's made it clear that they view streaming as the future, that they're not giving up on traditional pay TV, but they don't see that being the future down the road. This seems to be a continued effort down that road, that Disney's recognizing that, hey, the middleman we've had for 15 years or 30 years or whatever it is, that the cable providers, that's not the future. Those are continuing to shrink. Our profitability in that's going to continue to shrink. So we're going to launch this new streaming or direct-to-consumer focus, which reality and the way it's set up is streaming service, and it's going to continue to focus on growing that connection direct to you. How do we give our content directly to you and, be honest, take all the profit rather than splitting it with different units? Keep an eye on this. Discovery's talking about the same thing with a $6 a month streaming service for Scripps Networks and Discovery Networks. Viacom is talking about launching an ad-supported one to give you full access to back catalogs, or at least some of their back catalog. And CBS has their own efforts. HBO has their own effort. There are other companies rumored to be looking at the same thing. So keep an eye on this. It's very, very evident that the idea of how do we get our content directly to you is in the works. Now everybody says, well, I want a la carte. Give me a la carte, give me a la carte. That is probably still going to happen. Just give it some time. I've always said if you watch these videos, the first version of a la carte will be able to buy smaller bundles. Where, like with the Discovery, $6 and you get all the Discovery networks plus all the Scripps and networks now. Now with Disney is you pay them up front, where it is about $5, and you get access to a huge library of Disney Channel, Disney Junior, all that kind of stuff, content, plus exclusive originals. Look for that to continue down the road. That this idea that, well, we're not quite ready to jump in and just give you Disney Channel for $3 a month or something, or Disney Junior for $1, but we're ready to make you a smaller bundle where you come to us directly. So we're moving in the right direction. We're not there yet. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on Disney's efforts. If it's successful, look for everybody else to jump on board. Disney is quite often the leader in this kind of situation, that they make a lot of the early jumps here. All right, let's move on to the next story. Netflix. Now, this may not surprise most people, but TiVo has a research group that they release quarterly in-depth surveys and studies, and according to TiVo, 79.4% of cable TV subscribers also have Netflix. Important for a few reasons. Number one, it kind of puts a lie to the idea that cable is cheaper. Clearly, that cable does not offer everything cord cutter or cable subscribers want, because not only did most of them have Netflix, many of them also had Amazon or Hulu included in that package. So not only do you have to pay for cable, let's be honest, many of the best shows on TV aren't on cable anymore. They're on Netflix, they're on Hulu. Handmaid's Tale, one of the breakout hits of 2017, can't watch it on cable television. The list goes on and on with that, but this is like a foot in the door. With Netflix and Amazon and Hulu having such a dominant presence in cable, I know it was a big part of why I became a cord cutter. It was like, hey, you know, increasingly while Watch is not on cable, I'm increasingly opening Netflix or Amazon or Hulu and watching my content. Why am I paying for cable year-round when in reality I only watch it a fraction of the time now? I think we're going to continue to see that. That's going to continue to be one of the big pushes into the people becoming cord cutters, because they look at this and they say, hey, I already pay for Netflix, I already pay for Amazon, maybe it's for the shipping, but hey, I do sometimes watch the content. That's not new cost. And this is an argument I hear from a lot of people. All these services out there, you know, it's more expensive than cable. I always ask them, well, if you went back to cable, would you cancel everything? 9 times out of 10, they say no, that I would at least keep Netflix, or I would at least keep Amazon, or I would at least keep Hulu, because they want the originals, they want the movies, they want content up front to them. And as that becomes more prevalent, as cable subscribers need to subscribe to other things to get the shows they want, it makes services like Sling TV, PlayStation Vue, DirecTV Now, Hulu Live, YouTube TV, etc. a lot more interesting, because these shows are good quality Netflix originals. Handmaid's Tale, Sneaky Pete, the list goes on, where you can't get those on cable. So keep an eye on this. We're at effectively almost 80% of pay TV subscribers, cable and satellite, subscribing to Netflix. That's a door open for cord cutters, and look for that to accelerate cord cutting going forward. If that hits 85 or higher, that could be a very close to a death nail for the cable TV industry. Because effectively, that means they're not giving their subscribers everything they want, and their subscribers need to go elsewhere to get the content they want. All right. Oh, I went the wrong way. There we go. The last story for today, and this is a warning sign for cable TV as a whole, networks as a whole. iHeartMedia, the largest owner of radio stations with over 850 stations around the United States and 20,000 employees, the last I saw, has filed for bankruptcy. You may remember iHeartRadio as Clear Channel Radio. And this is kind of a sad tale. A real industry leader taken down by a couple of things. High debt, which is something pay TV providers need to be careful about too. And the fact that the content, the way people listen to radio has changed. Very rarely, when I grew up as a kid, you always had the radio on, right? In your home, there was a radio playing. That was the way you got music. I'm dating myself here, but I remember making those mixtapes, put the menu, wait for that song you really wanted, and then you hit record on it and you stop, and it was how we did it. Now we have Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Pandora. There are so many, YouTube Music. There are so many music services, I haven't even listed all of them, that give you what music you want, when you want it, how you want it. And that's really taken a radio and tipped it on his head. You may listen to it in the car, you may listen to it for news, maybe you're a talk radio fan. Increasingly though, radio is not how people listen to their music. It's a falling industry, and it's something that pay TV needs to pay attention to. A lot of people commented on my story that, hey, well, you know, iHeartRadio failed because of debt. You know, that's different than why cable TV will fail. There's some arguments to be made it's different, but a lot of the same issues are there. iHeartRadio went out and bought a bunch of radio stations to try to make this big, massive conglomerate to fight back against the rise of iTunes and different music services. While we look in the TV industry, same thing. Disney's trying to buy Fox. Discovery just bought Discovery just bought Scripps. Viacom and CBS have been rumored to merge or buy one by the other again. So we're seeing this again, a massive amount of debt, effort to get bigger in an effort to get a bigger piece of a shrinking pie. Very similar to what iHeartRadio did when they bought up some different radio networks, got really big in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and suddenly found themselves with declining market, skyrocketing debt, and bankruptcy in 2018. So it'll be interesting to see if this repeats in the world of pay TV. It should be a red flag. You see, you know, AT&T, for example, investing a ton of money in an effort to buy Time Warner, excuse me, not the cable TV service, the cable network, so CNN, TBS, TNT, etc. So it's a canary in the coal mine, as people say. That what happened to iHeartRadio can easily happen to CBS. If you had told me 10 years ago that iHeartRadio would go bankrupt, I would have thought you were crazy. They were still, in the late 2000s, a massive, well-established industry with making good money with what everybody thought was a very reasonable debt level. And now, as that market has shrunk, they're selling upside down. Same thing, you look at CBS, Fox, Disney, Discovery, Viacom. You look at them and say, well, CBS is never going away, right? Fox is never going away. Well, suddenly Fox is willing to sell off 90% of their business to Disney and just keep the news and sports side. And Disney's like, hey, I'll take in all this debt. I'll take in, you know, all of this to become bigger, to get a bigger piece of a shrinking pie. It's repeating itself. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on these mergers. Keep an eye on the debt level of these companies. It very well could be the downfall of many industries like what was the radio industry back in the day. So those are the top 3 stories I find most interesting. I will link to them down in the show notes down below. Keep in mind that Sling TV is free today. No credit card needed. If you're watching this on the Friday I upload this, hey, check it out. No credit card needed. Why not? The other thing, hey, if you like these videos, hit a thumbs up. Join us every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube for a weekly Core Cutting Q&A, where I do my best to answer your weekly core cutting questions. And let me know what you think of this new setup. Ignore the lighting, ignore the sound. They're all experiments, but I'd love to hear what you think of this versus sitting at my desk. We're experimenting. This may not be the final version of the show, but I'd love to hear what you think of it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. I really appreciate your support. Couldn't do this without you. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.